Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video I want to do another IVF update. The last video that you saw was when I received my HCG results and they came back at 18. So after that, the plan was for me to go back on Monday, which was 48 hours after the initial beta, and that was on October 30th. So my doctor wanted to see my levels drop down to 0 before we moved forward with another transfer. So that morning I went to go get my blood drawn, and my nurse called me a few hours later and told me that my levels had actually stayed the same. So she didn't give me an exact number, but I figured it was 18 since she said there was no change. And so my nurse said that because my levels had not dropped, my doctor did not feel comfortable taking me off medication. So the plan was for me to stay on my medication and go back on Wednesday, October 2nd for another blood draw, and we could decide what the plan was after those results. And so for me, that was really frustrating at the time because I was looking forward to moving on to the next transfer as soon as possible. And then I didn't want to stay on medication any longer because it's just a lot on my body. And then also because medication is really expensive. So I saw it as a waste of money. But I listened to my doctor and I stayed on my medication, and I went back on Wednesday to have my blood drawn. So that day my nurse called me a few hours later once she got the results, and she told me that my levels had actually gone up. So we were at 18 on Saturday and Monday, and on Wednesday, which was the 2nd, my levels had gone up to 34. So they almost doubled. And she said because of that, we were gonna do the same thing. I was going to stay on medication, and I would go back on Friday so I would go back Friday the 4th for another draw. So my nurse did tell me that even though my levels did go up, she didn't want me to get too excited because they were still really low, and that by Friday we should definitely have a better idea of what was going on. And so my nurse had been calling me around the same time, which was 10:30, to give me results. But on Friday, I remember around 11 o'clock texting Eric and letting him know that I hadn't received a call yet. So I was pretty sure that my levels had dropped. And because it was bad news, she was probably waiting for the right time to tell me, or she was probably talking things over with my doctor. That way she can gather as much information as possible and give that to me over the phone. But my nurse ended up calling me around, it was right before lunch, so right before noon, she called me and told me that my levels had yet again gone up. So we were at 34, and she said we were now at 85. So they had more than doubled. And she seemed a little bit more excited this time. But then she also mentioned that this could possibly be an ectopic pregnancy. And she gave me a list of symptoms to look out for in case this did become an ectopic pregnancy. And I wasn't feeling any of those symptoms, thank God. But it's still pretty scary. She said if I did develop any of those symptoms to just go into the ER, because an ectopic pregnancy can be really dangerous and it can actually lead to death if you don't treat it. So, I mean, that was really scary, but I have not felt any of those symptoms, thank goodness. The plan after that was for me to go back on Monday to have my blood drawn yet again. And so I did that. And I got the call a few hours later, and my nurse this time was really excited when I picked up. She said, "Jessica, we are going to continue. Your levels are now at 227. So they had gone from 85 to 227 in 3 days. And she said that my doctor was actually really happy with the way that my numbers had been increasing. So he did not need me to go in for more blood work, and we scheduled an ultrasound in a few weeks. So right now we are in limbo. I really don't know what's going on in my body. And that's really scary because part of me wants to be excited. And I am. I'm happy because we have hope, and I know a lot of people don't have that. but I'm also scared because we got off to a really rocky start. And I'm basically asking God for a miracle. So if this does happen to be a viable pregnancy, I'm going to be completely happy, of course, but I'm also preparing myself for the possibility that I could miscarry again. And if that's the case, I just need to trust God and his plan for me. And I also need to trust that God has me on the path that he needs me to be. It might not be the path that I want or the path that I would have chosen, but ultimately it's the right path. And I need to be okay with whatever path God has chosen for us. And so I do plan on filming an update after the ultrasound, but for now you guys know as much as I do. And I do want to say thanks for all your sweet comments and all of your support. I really do appreciate it. Until next time, bye.